Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet.
Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
2 hours of Western adventure ahead, along with an episode of Fibber McGee and Molly. We'll have Gunsmoke, Have Gun Will Travel, Jimmy Stewart is a six-shooter, Hollywood Soundstage, and the Oxbow Incident. This is all coming up on this, what is this? This is a Wednesday, and you know what that means. This is the 17th day of January, 349 days left until we get to 2025. James Madison Randolph, the grandson of Thomas Jefferson, became the first child born in the White House in 1806. The U.S. took possession of Wake Island in the Pacific Ocean on this date in 1899. In 1912, Sir Robert Falcon Scott of the Antarctic, reached the South Pole 1 month after Roald Amundsen. In 1916, the Professional Golfers Association, the PGA, formed. In 1917, the U.S. paid Denmark $25 million for the Virgin Islands. That would be $618 million today. In 1929, Popeye the Sailor Man, a cartoon character created by Elza Chrysler Seeger, first appeared in the comic strip Thimble Theater. In 1945, Soviet forces captured the almost completely destroyed Polish city of Warsaw. In 1945, the Nazis began the evacuation of the Auschwitz concentration camp as Soviet forces closed in. In 1946, the UN Security Council held their first session. In 1950, the Great Brinks robbery. 11 thieves stole more than $2 million from an armored cars company's offices in Boston. That would be $26 million today. 1977, convicted murderer Gary Gilmore, executed by firing squad in Utah.
I simply accepted a sentence that was given to me. I've accepted sentences all my life. I didn't know I had a choice in the matter. When I did accept it, everybody jumped up and wanted to start to argue with me. It seems that the people, especially the people of Utah, they want the death penalty, but they don't want executions. And when it became a reality, they might have to carry one out. Well, I started backing off on it. Well, I took them literal and serious, and they sentenced me to death, just as if they'd have sentenced me to 10 years or 30 days in the county jail or something. I thought you were supposed to take them serious. I didn't know it was a joke.
Gary Gilmore's execution on this date in 1977 ended a 10-year moratorium on the death penalty in the U.S. In 1991, Operation Desert Storm began early in the morning. Iraq fired 8 Scud missiles into Israel in an unsuccessful bid to provoke Israeli retaliation.
Throughout the entire sky, there are flashes of light. It appears to be some sort of anti-aircraft fire. A couple of flashes on the horizon now. Something is definitely underway here. Something is going on.
The liberation of Kuwait has begun. In conjunction with the forces of our coalition partners, the United States has moved under the code name Operation Desert Storm to enforce the mandates of the United Nations Security Council.
Reporter Gary Gilmore, then White House Press Secretary Marlin Fitzwater on the invasion Operation Desert Storm on this date in 1991. 1994, a magnitude 6.7 earthquake hit Northridge, California. 1998, Paula Jones accused President Bill Clinton of sexual harassment. And in 1998, Matt Drudge broke the story of the Monica Lewinsky affair on his Drudge Report website. Faced with an electric crisis, California on this date in 2001 used rolling blackouts to cut off power to hundreds of thousands of people. Passing away on this date in history, the 19th President of the United States, Rutherford B. Hayes, actor Doodles Weaver, actor Richard Crenna, actress Virginia Mayo, also journalist and author Art Buchwald, chess player and author Bobby Fischer, author and screenwriter Eric Siegel, Don Kirshner's rock concert. Also from the man who sung about Willie and the Hand Jive, the Johnny Otis Show, Johnny Otis, passing away on this date in history. Birth dates on this date include Benjamin Franklin, film director Max Sennett, actor Noah Beery, gangster Al Capone, Betty White. Didn't make it, but at least she's home with Alan Ludden now. Betty White, born on this date. Actress Eartha Kitt, wonderful singer as well. Also, cosmetologist Vidal Sassoon, ventriloquist Sherry Lewis, actor Troy Donahue, boxer Muhammad Ali, and the very funny and weird Andy Kaufman.
Hi, this is Jeff Foxworthy. It is now time for the birthday announcements. The following people are now officially older than dirt.
And we start off with a man who I would kill to have his voice, James Earl Jones, 93 today. Maury Povich says, "You are not the father." Maury's 85. Chris Montez, "The More I See You." 81 years old today. Musician Paul Young, "Every Time You Go Away." 68 years old today is Paul Young. Also, the very funny Steve Harvey. Sometimes he's funny and doesn't even mean to be. Steve Harvey, 67 today. The Bangles' Suzanne Hops is 65, and she is very active on social media, including on Instagram. She posts some very delightful things there. She just published a book. Susanna Hops of the Bangles, 65. Actor-comedian Jim Carrey, alrighty then, 62. Michelle Obama is 60. Kid Rock, 53. I wonder if those two know they share a birthday. I wonder if they care. Actress Zooey Deschanel is 44. She was Rose Tico in the Star Wars sequels. Kelly Marie Tran is 35. And from Picard, Goosebumps, and Hamilton, Isa Briones is 25. Those just a few of the people who celebrate the 17th day of January as their birthday. And if this happens to be your birthday...
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Tomorrow we're going to have a drama with an episode of Suspense starring Jack Benny. Yes. Also Dragnet, Sherlock Holmes, The Hallmark Playhouse, and Old Soldiers Never Die, and The Adventures of Jungle Jim with the Batwoman. But today, it's all Westerns, and we will start off with an episode of Gunsmoke from 71 years ago, January 17th, 1953. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for finding us here, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Our religious institutions are strongholds of the American way of life. Our country was founded by men who had faith in God and who were willing to endure hardship and sacrifice for the sake of that faith. Today, the religious institutions in your community need your interest and support, so take an active part in religious affairs. Your pastor, rabbi, or priest will give you invaluable family counsel and aid if you are a newcomer to the community. To face the problems of the future, America must be morally strong. And that moral strength comes through worship and faith. Go to church this week and take someone with you.
Thanks for stopping by. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox continues with an episode of Gunsmoke. This episode, originally broadcast on January 17th, 1953, 71 years ago, is entitled Paid Killer.
Around Dodge City and in the territory on West, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The story of the violence that moved west with young America. The story of a man who moved with it. Matt Dillon, United States Marshal.
Hey. Over here.
One of the boys said you wanted to see me.
Yeah.
It better be important, mister. I don't make a habit of coming running with some saddle punk whistles.
Maybe you hadn't ought to make a habit of calling people saddle punks.
No offense, just an expression.
Sure. I came up from the Pecos country. Been here in Dodge about a week. Maybe you've seen me around.
I've seen you.
I've been talking to people.
Oh?
Everybody tells me you were a big shot back in Abilene. You had all the games sewed up, 3 or 4 saloons paying off, a couple of hotels and so on. Then the boom busted and you come here, and you got nowhere. Know why?
You're talking, you tell me why.
Dillon. Fella named Matt Dillon, a U.S. Marshal. You tried to scare him and he wouldn't scare. Tried to buy him and wouldn't buy. Tried breaking him, wouldn't break.
So?
Be worth $5,000 to you if I kill him?
Might.
All right, get it in gold. Keep it handy. My heart?
Yeah, you're hired.
Chester, I know you've been sick and you still got a cold, but is there anything else wrong?
What do you mean, Mr. Dillon?
Well, you haven't said 3 words in the last 20 minutes. That's not like you.
Well, Mr. Dillon, did you ever get a funny feeling somebody was keeping an eye on you?
Well, yeah, but...
Well, I got one right now.
Chester, I think you got a touch of the heebie-jeebies.
Maybe. But I tell you, I know there's
Well, as far as I can see, there's nobody in the whole place even paying any attention to us.
Somebody is. I had the same feeling the day the Butler brothers come back from Santa Fe.
Yeah?
I didn't even know they was in town, but I knew somebody was getting ready to call us. And about 6 that evening, they made their play, remember?
Yeah, I remember.
I was one of the pallbearers the next day. Well, it's the same thing now. There's gonna be trouble, Mr. Dillon. You can bet on it.
I think you got the wind up over nothing, Chester. Why, the town's never been quieter. Jail's been empty for 2 weeks. Only new faces around is that bunch of trail drivers that came up from the Pecos. They're all strangers. None of them got any reason to hold a grudge
Oh, there you be.
What?
I've been looking all over for you, Marshal.
Oh, hiya, Billy.
Waited over to the jail for nigh on an hour. I got to talk to you, Mr. Dillon.
I'm sorry, Billy, but every time I give you money, you buy yourself a bottle and then stay blind drunk for 2 days.
It ain't money this time, Mr. Dillon. I got something to tell you.
Oh? What?
Something I heard. There's a couple fellers talking over to the liver stable. They didn't see me. I was back at the water trough. Sort of, well, resting, you might say.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you know how it is, Mr. Dillon. The man gets dry in this prairie country and he just
What were they talking about, Billy?
About you. One of them offered to kill you for $5,000 in gold, and the other one took him up on it. There, what did I tell you?
Who were they, Billy? Did you know them?
No, sir. It was dark and I didn't recognize their voices. They was already there when I woke up and they left right after that.
Well, maybe it was just some kind of a joke.
Oh, it didn't sound that way to me. No, sir, it's no joke, Mr. Dillon. I told you I felt it. There's somebody in this room right now, somebody who's been hired to kill you.
Yeah, but who?
I don't know. you figure who'd want to do such a thing, Mr. Dillon?
Yeah, I can figure a dozen or two, Chester.
Well, if
Chester,
was...
look, as far as Dodge City is concerned, I'm the law. And there are plenty of men here who'd think they'd do better without any law. I guess it's nothing personal.
Well, personal or not, it's got me jumping sideways at my own shadow.
Ah, here we are. Come on.
Well, good morning, Marshal. Haven't seen you since the robbery last month.
Attempted robbery, Mr. Greeley.
Yeah, so it was, thanks to you. Well, Mr. Dillon, the bank's at your service. What can I do for you?
Give me some information, if you will.
Well, if it isn't confidential...
It is, but I want it anyway.
Well, I hardly know what to say. Perhaps you'd better step into my office. This way, gentlemen.
Thank you.
After you, Mr. Greeley.
Now, just what was it you wanted to know?
I want to know whether one of your customers has drawn $5,000 in gold from the bank in the last few days.
Any particular person in mind?
No, that's what I want to find out.
Well, I hope this won't go any farther, Marshal.
So somebody did, huh? Who was it, Mr. Greeley?
I certainly wish to make it clear that I don't approve of this man, but after all, he is a good customer, and it's not my place
Yeah, I know. Who was it?
Lawson Hales.
Lawson Hales?
Yeah, he took the gold out just this morning, as a matter of fact. Said he was working on a cattle deal of some sort.
Yeah, figures all right. Hales tried to move in on this town ever since he came here. Every time he's tried, I've stopped him.
I do hope you'll regard this as confidential.
Yeah, sure. Well, Chester, we know who one of them is now.
Yeah, but who's the other, Mr. Dillon? The one who's actually going to do it.
Some punk who wants $5,000 real bad and doesn't care how much he has to do to get it.
That sure doesn't narrow it down any.
Yeah, I know.
Sure quiet tonight, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah?
Not many people out.
No, not many.
The moon is throwing quite a bit of light.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Kindly makes a target out of a man.
Yeah, kind of.
If somebody was out to shoot somebody, this would sure be a good night for somebody to do it.
I suppose so.
Mr. Dillon.
Hmm?
Do you mind if I make a comment?
Well, I thought that's what you were doing, Chester.
Let's go on back to the jail and stay off the streets. This way you're just asking for it.
Chester, if it's going to come, it's going to come. I'd rather meet it halfway than to sit and wait for it.
Asking for it, that's what you're doing.
It's been 2 days now. It gets on your nerves. When you go out to bring a man in, you know you may have trouble and you're ready for it, but this way, and not knowing who or when or where or...
Yes, sir, I understand, Mr. Dillon. It kindly bothers a man.
Yeah. Let's walk down the Texas Trail.
Good to see you, Matt. You've been avoiding us the last couple of days.
Busy, Kitty.
Something bothering you, Matt?
Bothering me?
Yeah.
Whatever gave you an idea like that?
Mr. Dillon?
What is it, Chester?
Lawson Hales just come in. He's down the bar there.
Oh, yeah. Maybe you ought to have a talk with him.
Well, that's one way.
That's the one I haven't tried yet. Excuse us, will you please, Kitty?
Well, sure, Matt. Whatever it is, be careful, huh?
Abilene was wide open.
Yeah.
I had it right in the palm of my hand.
That so?
The minute the trail drive had hit town, the boys would grab their pay and they'd head straight.
Something I can do for you?
Yeah, I want to talk to you, Mr. Hale.
Well, I don't see anything stopping you.
Well, we'll move down the bar a ways if you don't mind. It's kind of private.
Sorry, Marshal. I'm fine right here.
I said we'll move down the bar.
If it's that important. Pardon me, boys. The marshal's all head up about something.
Oh, sure.
Far enough?
Yeah, this is far enough. Lawson, I understand you've hired yourself a gunman. Sent him out to get me. Offered him $5,000 in gold.
I don't know what you're talking about, Dillon.
Wouldn't care to tell me his name.
No, I don't think so. You see, I don't know anything about it.
What's he waiting for? He's had 2 days now, and he hasn't made a move.
Like I said, Dillon.
Why don't you do the job, Hale? You're wearing a gun. Maybe save yourself some money.
I've got no quarrel with you.
You mean you're yellow? Scared to call your own play?
I said
You're a weasel and no-good coward, Hale.
I let it ride for the time being.
Yeah, I thought you would. Come on, Chester.
Yes, sir.
Let's go get some fresh air.
Well, I guess he's just not the kind to take chances, Mr. Dillon.
And not when he's got a hired killer out prowling somewhere. Chester, I'm going to run him out of Dodge if it's the last thing I ever do.
Dodge can stand it.
If I only knew who he'd hired, then I could force the play myself. This blasted business of having to leave it up to the other man. Waiting.
Over there by the stable.
Yeah, I saw the flash.
Maybe you got him, Mr. Dillon.
I don't know. Let's move in and find out.
Yes, sir.
Watch yourself, Chester. You may be playing possum.
Yes, sir. The flash was right here by the corner.
Yeah. Well, that's that.
Looks like you got away, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, he's gone.
Took one shot and then ran for cover.
He'll be back.
We will return for the second act of Gunsmoke in just a moment. But first, every Sunday afternoon, Robert Trout with the World News brings you up to the minute on CBS Radio. A special feature on this program every Sunday is a flying visit from one of our noted overseas news correspondents. Remember, tomorrow, for well-rounded views of the news at home and everywhere, don't miss Robert Trout with the news of the world on most of these same CBS radio stations. And now for the second act of Gunsmoke.
Goodness, my cold sure know better tonight, Mr. Dillon. My, that fire sure feels good. Yes, sir, the old jail seems kind of cozy when a man's ailing like I am. Anyway, it's sure a lot better than prowling those streets waiting for somebody to put a bullet in the back of your neck.
Chester, will you stop squeaking the chair?
Well, sorry, Mr. Dillon. Yell at me like that, puny as I'm feeling.
2 more days gone by and he hasn't made another move.
Yes, sir. That cottonwood sure burns up fast. I guess I better shake down the stove, throw another chunk of wood.
Wait a minute.
Huh?
Wait a minute. There might be a way at that, Chester. Lawson Hale. That's the only fact we're sure of. Lawson Hale.
It'd be kind of hard to prove anything, Mr. Dillon.
Who said anything about proving it? I got an idea. Come on.
Which one will we try first, Mr. Dillon?
The Texas Trail, I guess. He'll either be there or at the Longhorn.
All right, Mr. Dillon. What you gonna do?
Gonna arrest him, since he won't fight. You saw him back down the other night.
Yes, but you got no evidence. Mr. Dillon, you can't make it stick.
I don't intend to, Chester.
Well, then I don't see
what I can do is scare him. And if I figure him right, I think he's gonna scare easy.
Maybe so, but all the same.
Look. Look, there he is, Chester. Just came out of the Longhorn.
A couple of fellas with him, Mr. Dillon. You don't suppose one of them could be...
No, they're hanging around for the free drinks. There's not an ounce of nerve in the 3 dozen of them. Come on, let's take him.
Yes.
You're right, the whole herd.
One man, $20,000.
Hale?
Yeah?
Hold it just right where you are.
What seems to be the trouble now, Marshal?
No trouble. Unless you want to make some. You're under arrest.
What for?
I'll think of something later. Stick out your hands.
Whoa. You're taking me in without even making a charge? I'll remind you there's witnesses here.
Yeah, so I notice. When they're not hanging around you, they're around somebody else. What have you done, Hale? Hired them, too?
I asked you what the charge was, Marshal.
Vagrancy.
Vagrancy?
As far as I know, you've never had any visible means of support as long as you've been in Dodge City.
I'll match any dollar of yours with 100 better ones.
Well, that's fine. That'll help pass the time. Now, stick out your hands.
Oh, look here, Marshal.
Shut up.
Think you...
All right, Chester, put the cuffs on him.
Yes, sir. All right, hold still now.
Well, Dillon, I'll break you for this.
It's been tried before. All right, boys, break it up. The party's over. You've had your last free drink out of this pump. All right, you, let's go to jail. Keep walking, Hale. It's the last cell on the left.
I'll break you, Dillon. So help me.
Well, you've been trying it for a year. I'm still around.
But you won't be after this. I'll take this up.
Hold up. Wait till Chester gets the door unlocked.
Haven't used this cell for so long, I've almost forgot which keys. There we are.
Vagrancy. I'm living in the best room in the commercial house.
Inside, Hale. Now go on, move. Now stick your hands up. You won't need those cuffs in here. All right. Make yourself at home. Shut the door, Chester.
Yes, sir.
Dillon, you've got nothing to hold me on. I'll be out of here by tomorrow noon.
Oh, I doubt that. In fact, there's a pretty good chance you'll never get out of that cell. Not alive, at least.
What are you talking about? According to the law, I've got a right.
The law, huh? You've broken it every chance you've got. Tried to break the men who serve it, like you've tried to do with me, for instance. But when your own neck gets caught, you start hiding behind the law.
Nevertheless,
all right, fine. Right now, the law out here is kind of sketchy. Some things it covers, some things it doesn't. That's where I come in. Now, this little affair between you and me is one of the things the law doesn't quite cover. So I'm going to run it my way.
That kind of talk won't help you any, Dillon.
You hired a man to kill me. Offered him $5,000 to get me out of the way.
You can't prove that.
He's made one try and he's missed. He's still around Dodge. Somewhere waiting, and he's going to try again. But I don't know who he is. So all the odds are with him.
That is your problem, Dillon, not mine. I don't know anything about that.
You know what'll happen, though, if he does get me. The first thing Chester's going to do is come straight back here to the jail and pump a couple of bullets through these bars here.
Huh?
Your boy may kill me, Hale, but you're not going to live to profit by it.
Oh, he wouldn't do it. Shoot down a helpless... Oh, neither one of you would do it.
Chester and I have been friends for a long time. Why don't you ask him whether he'd do it or not?
No question about it, Mr. Dillon. Of course I'd do it.
Oh, no, you wouldn't.
Well, you hired somebody to shoot Mr. Dillon in the back. I don't see where you got any kick coming.
Well, there's your answer, Mr. Hale. That's why I arrested you. Come on, Chester. Let's go look the town over.
No, it's tonight that he's going.
Who's gonna do what?
I don't know, Marshal. I don't know anything about it.
No, that's too bad. If I knew his name, I'd have a lot better chance, you know. So would you. Well, we'll see you later, Hale. Or anyway, Chester will.
No, Dillon, you can't do it. Don't go on. He'll get you sure. Dillon, no, wait. I'll tell you his name.
All right.
He's a trail driver. He came up from the Pecos last week. I doubt if you know him. His name is Ed Granger.
Ed Granger?
Yeah, I've seen him around the bars. Dark-haired, surly-looking, scar across his cheek.
That's him. Of course, I'll deny all of this in court, you understand?
Yeah, sure, I understand. Come on, Chester, let's go get him.
Look, he's here all right, Mr. Dillon. Over there by the pine.
Yeah, looks like he's by himself.
What you gonna do? Arrest him?
Well, there's no evidence, Chester. The only way I see is to make it personal. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Now, I want you to stay out of it, Chester. Just cover me, that's all.
Whatever you say, Mr. Dillon.
Your name, Ed Granger?
Might be. What about it?
You know who I am, don't you?
Judging by the star, I reckon you're a U.S. Marshal.
You ought to do better than that. After all, I'm worth $5,000 to you.
Yes, sure. Who says so?
Lawson Hale.
What?
Your memory's getting better, huh?
I don't know what you're talking about, Marshal.
Sure you do. That deal you made with Hale. He told me all about it after I threw him in jail and persuaded him a little bit.
I told you, I don't know anything.
You're wearing a gun there, Granger. Why don't you draw it and go for $5,000? Take a chance.
This fella you're talking about's in jail. I reckon he wouldn't have anybody working for him now, would he?
You tell me.
I got no reason to draw on you, Marshal.
Not unless my back's turned, huh? I think you're as yellow as Hale is.
This won't do you any good. I ain't drawing.
You tried to kill me night before last, Granger.
Can you prove that?
If I could, you'd either be in jail or you'd be dead.
Well, since you can't prove it, what's the argument?
Just that I don't like the idea of somebody trying to shoot me in the back. If you're any man at all, we'll settle this here and now.
Now leave me alone, Marshal. I haven't done anything.
Now, you still figure you got no reason to draw on me?
No reason. I ain't drawing.
You got 10 minutes to get out of town. And when you're out, stay out. Don't come back now or ever, you understand?
Yes, sir.
You can start right now.
Must be nearly midnight, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, about that, I guess, Chester.
My, this is sure one day I'm glad is over.
Yeah, so am I. At least I can breathe a little easier now.
I think I'll get this fire built up a little bit, Mr. Dillon.
No, leave it, Chester. Let's go take care of our prisoner first, huh?
Hey, we still haven't got any evidence. What are we going to do about him?
Same as with Granger. Turn him loose and run him out of town. We should have done it months ago. You got the keys?
Yes, sir. Right here, Mr. Dillon?
Huh? What are you looking at? Granger must have stopped by here on his way out of town.
He must have got Hale over to the window for a talk and then grabbed him and cut his throat right there.
Yeah. Figured Hale had sold him out, I guess. Got a bulletin on the wire, Chester. Wanted for murder, Ed Granger.
All right, sir, Mr. Dillon.
I guess Hale got pretty much what he bargained for. He hired himself a killer in order to kill him. He got it.
Gunsmoke, under the direction of Norman MacDonald, stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. Tonight's story was specially written for Gunsmoke by Les Crutchfield, with music composed and conducted by Rex Corey. Featured in the cast were Harry Bartell, Lawrence Dobkin, Jack Crucian, and Ralph Moody. Parley Bear is Chester, and Georgia Ellis is Kitty. Gunsmoke is heard by our troops overseas through the facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Join us again next week as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal, fights to bring law and order out of the wild violence of the West in Gunsmoke. Like Old Man River, the comedy just keeps rolling along every Sunday night when CBS Radio presents Amos and Andy. Tomorrow night, over most of these same CBS radio stations, the Kingfish is sure to be up to his usual monkey business. And it's sure to make a monkey out of gullible Andy Brown. Listen for yourself. Don't let one single minute of the fun get away. Tomorrow and every Sunday night, it's Amos and Andy on CBS Radio. This is Roy Rowan speaking. And remember, Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy open fire on your funny bone every Sunday night on the CBS Radio Network.
"71 years ago, January 17th, 1953, Gunsmoke here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Up next, John Dehner in an episode of Have Gun, Will Travel on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Everyone who works for a living knows that illness or injury may keep them from earning a living. Today, more than 9 out of 10 American workers are covered by Social Security. And each one should know that if he becomes severely disabled, he and his family may be eligible for monthly Social Security disability payments. More than 1 million people are now receiving benefits each month under this program. For more information about Social Security disability benefits, write to Social Security, Department 15, Hollywood 28, California, and ask for a free copy of Booklet 29 called If You Become Disabled.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, John Dehner, in the only show that we know of that started on television and moved to radio with a completely new edition of the program, Have Gun, Will Travel. This episode from 64 years ago, January 17th, 1960, is entitled French Leave.
I am not usually hired as a guide, Monsieur Poulard. But since you are unfamiliar with our western frontier, this is one trip I wouldn't want to miss.
of Gun Will Travel. Starring Mr. John Dehner as Paladin. San Francisco, 1875. The Carlton Hotel, headquarters of the man called Paladin.
Yes.
Mr. Paladin?
Well, good morning, Miss Wong. Come in.
Yes, I come by room many times. Knock on door, you not in.
What did you want, Miss Wong?
Oh, not me, Miss Wong. Not want anything. It's him.
Him?
Him.
Who?
This man talks funny. He come look for you 1, 2, 3 times. He want to see you very bad. He talk funny, not plain like you and me.
Oh?
He here now, right outside door.
Well, then show him in.
Yes, You come now, Mr. Paladin home.
Merci infiniment, merci.
Bonsoir,
Monsieur Paladin. Permettez-moi to make your acquaintance. Je suis Jean-Jacques Poulard de la Sûreté Française.
Monsieur Poulard?
See, Mr. Paladin talk funny.
Yeah. Oh, yes, Miss Wong.
Must go now. Have many to...
Yes, thank you, Miss Wong. So, Monsieur Poulard, you're with the French Secret Service, hmm?
Oui, monsieur.
What can I do for you?
Monsieur Paladin, I need help.
What kind of help?
I need a guide.
A guide? Well, that's not exactly in my line.
Monsieur, I search for a dangerous man. He has escaped from La Santé prison in Paris, and I have searched, and now at last I know where he is.
Where?
In your Sierra Mountains.
Well, why don't you go get him?
No, monsieur. You do not understand. I am a city policeman. Paris, Marseille, London, New York. I trail my men in these places, and I am formidable. But here, west, monsieur, the mountains, the wild animals, the Indians. I don't know about these things, monsieur.
Oh, do you want a guide or a bodyguard?
Perhaps both.
My services aren't cheap, Monsieur Poulard.
No, I am prepared to pay. The Sûreté understands these matters involve expense.
Very well, then. Let's say $1,000 in advance.
Oh la la. That is, as you say, not cheap, but, d'accord. Very well. Now, how long will it take to assemble the expedition?
Expedition?
Bien sûr. One will need pack animals, I imagine, and native bearers.
We'll leave in the morning.
In the morning?
Yes, Monsieur Poulard, at dawn. Just the two of us.
But, monsieur, I thought...
Monsieur Poulard, what does your name mean in English?
Poulard? Chicken?
That's what I thought. See you in the morning.
Are you smoking more now, but enjoying it less? Have a real cigarette, have a Camel. The best tobacco makes the very best smoke. Have a real cigarette, have a Camel. Are you looking for flavor and mildness? Have a real cigarette, have a Camel. The best tobacco makes the very best smoke. Have a real cigarette, a real cigarette, a real cigarette, have a Camel.
Again, for the 11th straight year, Camel outsold every other cigarette, filter, king size, and regular. The best tobacco makes the best smoke. So if you're smoking more now but enjoying it less, change to Camels. Get more real satisfaction every time. Start to really enjoy smoking again.
Have a real cigarette, a real cigarette, a real cigarette, have a Camel.
Monsieur Poulard.
Oui, monsieur.
This man you're looking for, what's his name?
Marius.
Who is he, this Marius? How many men has he murdered?
Oh, we are not positive that he has murdered any, but we suspect him of many.
But what has he done?
He escaped from La Santé prison in Paris, and no one escapes from La Santé.
But he did, huh?
And therefore, monsieur, he must be returned. It is a matter of the honor of the Sûreté.
Seems like a lot of trouble to go to.
Oh, the honor of the Sûreté must be upheld at all costs.
Oh, yes, I see. Well, what makes you so sure this Marius is up there in the Sierra?
Oh, Monsieur Paladin, we French criminologists follow a very useful and profound principle.
Oh, what's that?
Cherchez la femme.
Ah, find the woman, yeah.
Oui, and I found her in Paris. She had come home after making a small but adequate fortune out here in your West, entertaining. Monique had seen my man.
Monique? You mean Monique Lafleur?
Bien sûr. Did you know her?
Oh, very well.
Oh, la. Ah, charmante, n'est-ce pas?
Charming? Yes, I guess that would cover it. It was a crazy kind of a job. But I was never a man to argue with $1,000, particularly when it involved no apparent risks. So we spent a pleasant afternoon riding along, reminiscing about our mutual friend, Monique Lafleur. That night, we stopped in Hangtown, where I introduced my employer to the dish for which the town is so famous.
What do you call this?
That's Hangtown Fry. You like it?
Oh, Monsieur Paladin, I am torn between honesty and politeness.
Then, Monsieur Poulard, by all means, be honest.
Eh bien, c'est exécrable, effroyable et dégoûtant.
You don't like it, then?
Oh, no, barbarous.
There he is, Red. The little one with the pointed mustaches. He looks like a Frenchie. He talks like a Frenchie.
How about it? You a Frenchman?
Oui, monsieur, I am.
And who are you?
They call me Big Red, and I'm here to tell you Frenchies ain't welcome in Hangtown.
We're just passing through.
I'm thinking you're gonna pass through real fast. How about it, boys? We don't take kindly to having our women stolen. Last Frenchie come through here made off with my girlfriend. I've been laying for him ever since.
Yeah, but this is a different Frenchman.
Makes no difference. He's a Frenchman.
Very well. If this is an example of Hangtown's hospitality, we'll be on our way.
I'll say you will. Skag?
Yeah, Red.
Go heat up that kettle of tar behind the livery stable.
Sure thing.
And a couple more of you rip up some feather beds. You're gonna be on your way, Frenchie, on a rail.
Wait a minute. This Frenchman who ran off with your girl, what was his name?
I don't know. Everybody just called him Frenchie.
Well, was it Marius by any chance?
Well, yeah, come to think of it, I did hear Lola call him that. Marius, honey, she said, a filthy Frenchman.
Well, then we have no cause for argument. My companion is from the French Secret Service. He's on his way to arrest this Marius.
Yeah, well, he's got to find him first.
Oh, he will.
Good. When he does find him, he can show him his tar and feathers.
Yeah. Well, I'm afraid we can't wait for the party, Big Red.
What?
All right, now stand back, all of you. With your hands in the air.
No, wait a minute.
You heard me. Stand back. All right, Monsieur Poulain, outside. Get our horses unhitched.
Oui, Paladin, tout de suite.
And the rest of you stay where you are until we're out of town. Now, I'll shoot the first man comes through this door.
Here is your horse, Paladin.
Good. Now, as you say in your country, let's ficher le temps.
Constipation can be a problem for anyone, even doctors. And when constipation occurs, it's interesting to see just what doctors consider important about a laxative they might use or recommend. Well, a majority of the doctors we heard from had this to say. A laxative should be effective, gentle, as close to natural acting as possible, and a medicine that can be used with complete confidence. Now, X-Lax has been popular with many doctors and millions of people over the years because chocolated X-Lax is effective. Overnight, it helps you toward your normal regularity. X-Lax is gentle. Next morning, it gives you the closest thing to natural action. And that's why many doctors and millions of people use X-Lax with complete confidence. X-Lax, the laxative that helps you toward your normal regularity gently, overnight.
Is X-Lax in your medicine cabinet?
On a bright night, you can see your way by the stars in the Motherlode country. We took advantage of this ghostly illumination to put a number of prudent miles between ourselves and the vengeful and unreasonable citizens of Hangtown. At last, we pulled up on the banks of a little stream and made a cold and cheerless camp. The next morning, the sun was up first. Then, quite a bit later, I got up. The little Frenchman was still curled up in a pitiful ball, twitching from time to time with nightmares of tar and feathers. I looked around and saw a bearded, red-shirted miner working his way up the stream, panning the river sand for gold. Hey, Monsieur Poulard. Come on, time to get up. Come on.
Suis-je... Oh, bonjour, Paladin.
Sleep well?
Oh, please do not mention it. I don't think I can ever move my arms and legs again.
We have company.
Oh?
Howdy.
Hello. Say, we're a little uncertain of our whereabouts, friend. Could you tell us where we are?
Well, this here's what used to be called South Fork, but folks have begun calling it Frenchman's Creek. Downstream, quite a fair piece, is civilization.
Civilization?
Yep. Settlement called Hangtown.
Oh, yes, we're acquainted with Hangtown, but what's upstream?
Nothing much. Few abandoned gold camps. Creek's panned out, more or less. But I keep hoping I'll find something the others missed.
You said folks have started calling this stream Frenchman's Creek?
That's right.
Why?
Kind of crazy Frenchman lives up to the head of it.
A Frenchman? What is his name?
I don't know. Everybody just calls him the Frenchman.
What's crazy about him?
Well, he's got a claim staked up there. Couple of claims. Only he don't do no mining that anyone can notice. Got a place all fenced in and a big gate with foreign words on a sign. Only 2 words in English. They say, keep out.
Well, how far is this place?
Well, it's a pesky place to get to. It'll take you the better part of a day following the stream. Of course, the stream winds a lot. You could go over the mountain that way.
Yeah, well, how long would it take that away?
Better part of the day.
Well, then it's no shorter.
Nope, but you don't get wet.
We went over the mountain, and it did take the better part of the day. Toward sundown, we came back once more to Frenchman's Creek, and there below us lay a well-built cabin surrounded by cleared land. We spurred our tired horses toward it, and a few moments later drew up before a rail gate on which hung the imposing keep out sign the miner had told us about.
Marius must have put up that sign. His guilty conscience is haunting him.
Perhaps. Well, shall we go in?
Paladin, I am tired, and I am hungry, and I am unafraid of this Marius. Come, we go in.
Come on, boy, move. Get in.
Stop!
What?
Put your hands in the air. I will relieve you of your weapons, messieurs. Throw them to the guard. Eh bien? Is it that you cannot read my sign?
We read it.
You made no effort to hide yourselves. I've watched your approach since you started down the mountain.
We have nothing to hide, but it appears that you do.
You are hiding your little derringer, Monsieur Paladin. Give it to me.
How did you know me?
Your derringer, please.
Here.
Merci. We have a mutual friend, Monsieur Paladin. Monique Lafleur.
Oh, yes, Monique.
She pointed you out to me once in San Francisco.
And she told you about the derringer.
It was indiscreet of you, monsieur, and dangerous to reveal to her the whereabouts of the derringer.
Under the circumstances, there was nothing else I could do.
Naturellement, of course. Eh bien, messieurs, you will proceed to the house. I will be right behind you with a gun pointed at your backs. Proceed.
Paladin?
Huh?
This is Marius. Black hair, black mustache, scar over the right eye.
And a pal of Monique's. Yeah, that's Marius, all right.
I shall ask him. Hey, monsieur.
Oui.
Appelez-vous Marius?
Marius? Qui est Marius? Tiens, you are French, monsieur, hein?
I'm French.
Then you must be Jean-Jacques Poulard of the Sûreté Française.
I am, but how did you know?
Monique wrote me you were looking for me. Monique is a friend.
Everybody's friend, it seems.
Dandruff bothers most men, most women, too. So listen. Today, you can get rid of embarrassing dandruff in just 3 minutes. Yes, with Fitch Dandruff Remover Shampoo. Unsightly dandruff's gone in 3 minutes. It's the quickest, easiest of all leading shampoos. That's not all. Using Fitch regularly is guaranteed to keep embarrassing dandruff away. Simply apply in the unique Fitch manner. Before you wet hair, rub in 1 minute. This way, Fitch shampoo penetrates right down to the scalp. Next, add water. Lather 1 minute to wash every trace of dandruff out of your hair. Then rinse 1 minute. All that loosened dandruff goes down the drain. In 3 minutes with Fitch, 1 rubbing, 1 lathering, 1 rinsing, dandruff's gone. And never forget, gentle Fitch can also leave your hair up to 35% brighter. To get rid of dandruff problems forever, brighten hair too, use Fitch regularly. Get Fitch Dandruff Remover Shampoo today, only 59 cents.
Arrête! Oh! Tiens, we are here. This is chez Marius. You may dismount, gentlemen. You will stay to dinner, no?
Yes.
Oh, we'd be delighted, as we seem to have no choice.
Bien, it is settled. I shall tell my wife. Come with me. Enter, please, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Merci, monsieur.
Chérie, viens-toi ici. Ah, ma petite chou, we have guests for dinner. Messieurs, this is Madame Marius.
Oh, howdy, boys.
How do you do?
Enchanté, madame.
Hey, your first name wouldn't be Lola, would it?
Yeah, that's right.
We met an old friend of yours in Hangtown last night. Big Red.
Oh, is he still sore I ran out on him?
He is.
Poor slob. He never had what Marius has. What's more, Marius married me.
And taught you to cook. Come, dépêche-toi, I guess I'm hungry.
Oui, Cherry, tout sweet.
A jewel of a woman, monsieur, a prize beyond price. But she speaks lousy French.
Some more coffee, Monsieur?
No, thank you. It was an excellent dinner. Superb.
Oh, not since I left Paris have I eaten so well.
Oh, thank you, Monsieur.
Imagine to find escargot in this wilderness.
They are not quite as fine as our snail de Bourgogne, but they fatten well on my vine leaves.
You have a vineyard?
Oh, yes. I shall make my own wine in another year.
And this fromage de chèvre?
From my own herd of goats.
Ah.
Oh, yes, my friend, we live well here.
I regret that I must take you away from all this.
But you are not going to.
I must. I have a warrant for your arrest.
And you have no guns.
But don't you see, I cannot return to Paris without you. It would be a disgrace to me, to the Sûreté.
Quel dommage.
Oui, you see the position you place me in?
Regrettable. But consider the position of France.
In what way?
If you insist on being obstinate, you can ruin France.
Impossible.
No, listen a moment. You insist on arresting me. I refuse.
Oui.
You demand that the American authorities extradite me. I refuse. The American authorities recognize my rights to freedom from persecution. You return to Paris and report this to the Sûreté. The Sûreté brings it before the National Assembly. The Paris newspapers make it a cause célèbre. France has been insulted. The headlines scream. War is declared. A French fleet sails to invade the United States. It is repulsed at great loss at Washington, New York, and Boston. The flower of French manhood falls upon the Atlantic beaches. France is defeated and forced to pay huge indemnities, which weaken her economically until she sinks to the position of a second-class nation, thus unhinging the balance of power in the Grand Alliance and exposing Europe to such dangers of general war that the mind reels at the prospect and at last refuses to look upon the chaos it portends.
Oh, no.
Are you willing, Monsieur Poulard, to be responsible for such a course of events?
No, I cannot accept such a responsibility.
Of course you cannot. You must think of France.
Yes, I am. I shall never see her again. I shall become an exile in this savage country where they fry oysters and eggs together.
No. That far I cannot go. I will not condemn a Frenchman to that fate.
What else is there for me?
Stay here with Madame and me. Help me tend the vines and herd the goats and raise the chickens and the snails. Can you think of a nobler activity than growing good things for the table?
Oh, only Sitting down at the table and eating them, monsieur?
So that's how I left him the next morning, hey boy. Feeding vine leaves to snails.
Snails? Yuck! Oh, no likey. Why Frenchman eat snails when he can eat good things like bird's nest soup and sharky fin?
Well, you know what the old lady said when she kissed the pig.
Oh, roast pig good too. Hey, what'd she say?
Chacun a son goût.
Oh, you're talking funny. What that mean?
That means, hey boy, everyone to his own taste.
Oh, Isa. Oh, nearly forgetting. Lady looking for you while you been away.
Oh, lady?
Isa, lady talk funny too, like you just now.
Oh, no. Hey boy, was her name Monique?
Isa, Monique Flower. She come back this afternoon.
I won't be here. Just tell her to, Hey, boy, tell her to follow Frenchman's Creek east of Hangtown.
Isa?
Over the mountains for the better part of a day.
For your who?
She'll find what she's looking for.
Oh, this miserable cold. And my sinuses.
Haven't you heard about Dristan? Dristan decongestant tablets for real relief from cold's misery and sinus congestion. Dristan is the revolutionary three-layer tablet which for the first time makes it possible to unite certain medically proven ingredients into one fast-acting, uncoated tablet. Dristan not only helps drain all 8 sinus cavities, critical areas of cold's infection, but circulating through the blood, Dristan's decongestant reaches all congested areas, shrinks all swollen membranes, relieves pressure and pain. An exclusive anti-allergent helps keep breathing passages dry and clear. Pain relievers reduce body aches, fever. Vitamin C helps build body resistance. This is Dristan. Today, Dristan is widely imitated, but the exclusive Dristan formula cannot be duplicated. There's nothing like Dristan decongestant tablets.
Have Gun, Will Travel. Created by Herb Meadow and Sam Rolfe, is produced and directed in Hollywood by Frank Paris and stars John Dehner as Paladin, with Ben Wright as Hayboy and Virginia Gregg as Miss Wong. Tonight's story was specially written for Have Gun, Will Travel by William N. Robeson. Featured in the cast were Shirley Mitchell, Harry Bartell, Barney Phillips, and Marvin Miller. This is Hugh Douglas inviting you to join us again next week when CBS Radio presents Have Gun, Will Travel.
"64 years ago, January 17th, 1960, Have Gun Will Travel on this Wednesday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. On Thursday, dramas, mostly. We'll have an episode of Suspense that stars Jack Benny. Elliot Lewis produced The Face is Familiar. And I'm going to tell you, it's drama, it's crime, but it's also funny. Also, Dragnet, The Big Sting, Sherlock Holmes, Hallmark Playhouse production of Old Soldiers Never Die, and The Adventures of Jungle Jim. That's all on our Thursday edition of the program. Anytime, classicradio.stream. Hope you'll visit our webpage. We have some items for sale over there. We have information on classic radio collecting, and I hope you'll just take time to go over there and visit. If you'd like to buy me a copy, that would be greatly appreciated. A thanks again to Eric, who supported us with a very generous purchase, podcast. Buy me a copy purchase at classicradio.stream. My mouth ain't working, but we will get to Jimmy Stewart and the 6-shooter next.
Not all careless drivers have accidents, but many such careless drivers cause accidents. A woman driver who drives slowly down Main Street while doing a little window shopping is a menace.
So is the man who insists on telling the people in the back seat of his car about his poker game last week. It's no wonder that ordinarily cautious drivers start to lose their tempers and take dangerous chances to pass these careless drivers. When an accident results, the person who caused the accident probably won't even be touched. So the National Safety Council says if you want to window shop, get out and walk. If you are too busy describing one of your sterling feats to pay any attention to traffic, get out and walk. The driver's license you have does not give you the right to endanger the lives of your passengers or other human beings. Driving can be dangerous. Keep your mind on what you're doing, or walk.
And now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, an episode of The Six-Shooter starring Jimmy Stewart. This episode, entitled The Silver Buckle, was originally broadcast on NBC January 17th, 1954, 70 years ago.
James Stewart as The Six-Shooter. The man in the saddle is angular and long-legged. His skin is sun-dyed brown. The gun in his holster is gray steel and rainbow mother-of-pearl, its handle unmarked. People call them both the Six-Shooter. The NBC Radio Network presents James Stewart as the Six-Shooter, a transcribed series of radio dramas based on the life of Britt Ponsett, the Texas plainsman who wandered through the Western Territories, leaving behind a trail of still-remembered legends.
The twilight wind carried the sound of the train toward the two figures who waited, hidden in a clump of maple trees. The sandy-haired man knotted a blue bandana at the back of his neck and pulled it over his face. He mounted his horse and gestured to his companion. The other man fitted a soiled handkerchief across his mouth and climbed into the saddle. A touch of spurs sent the horses forward. The train was crawling up a steep grade now, and the riders guided their mounts alongside the slowly moving cars. And then they lifted their boots out of the stirrups and swung themselves up onto a small platform behind the tender. Flicker of lamplight glinted on their revolvers as they opened the door to a passenger coach and stepped inside. For several minutes, the riderless horses continued to pace the clattering wheels. And then the door opened again. The two men pitched off the platform and rolled down the slope of a barren ravine. And in response to the whistle, the horses trotted up to him.
All right, let's go.
Shoot, Sheriff. There just wasn't any cause. Carl was deaf. And all the noise the train was making, he couldn't understand what they wanted.
Yeah, I know.
He couldn't understand a word. He tried to make out what they were saying, but he couldn't. And when he didn't hand it over...
Well, we'll get him, Mrs. Davis. Don't you worry about that. The posse's meeting here. We'll start out tonight, and we won't be back until we get him.
That won't do Carl much good.
Well, at least we'll make sure they don't kill nobody else in cold blood.
If only I hadn't to give him that belt. If I just hadn't to give it to him.
Belt?
It was my anniversary present to Carl. We were married 25 years last week. That's why we was taking the train trip over to Cheyenne, and that's why I give him the belt. The buckle was sort of silver-like.
What did that have to do with...
It was the belt they wanted. But Carl didn't understand when they asked him. He'd already handed over his money and his watch, and then one of them noticed the belt, and he said, "That buckle's silver, ain't it? Give it to me." Carl couldn't make out what he was talking about. And the fella got real mad, and he jabbed a gun into Carl's side, and he pulled the trigger without even giving Carl a chance to...
Easy now, Miss Davis.
And even though Carl was dying, that outlaw took the belt off him anyway, and It wasn't a silver buckle, Sheriff. It just looked like silver, but it wasn't the real thing.
I sure must have been sleeping sound, or I'd have heard him right up. Of course, they're probably being as quiet as they could under the circumstances, but I usually wake up when I'm out in the range and somebody's prowling around my neighborhood. Well, Scar, he heard him, and he let me know it. Why, what's the matter, boy? Is there something It still wasn't dawn, but there was enough light so that I could see the barrel of a .45 and a firm-mouthed fellow standing over me pointing the gun at my head. Howdy.
What's your name, mister, and what are you doing out here?
Well, I was sleeping.
Don't get funny. We want straight answers, and we want them quick.
Oh, you two of you, huh?
At least two.
Oh?
We're waiting, mister.
My name's Ponsett.
Britt Ponsett.
That's right. And as for what I'm doing out here, well, this is a free range. A man's got a right to cross over it and stop off once in a while and take a snooze if he takes a mind to it.
You trying to claim you're the six-shooter?
I'm not claiming anything. You asked my name, I told you.
How do we know you ain't lying? How do we know that's who you are?
I guess you don't, unless you're willing to take my word for it.
Let's see your gun, mister.
How's that?
I've heard folks tell about the gun Britt Ponsett carries.
Oh?
No, don't touch it. I can see it plain enough.
What do you think, kid?
I guess he's Ponsett, all right. Leastways, that six-shooter sure fits the description.
Oh?
Besides, it didn't seem very likely he'd be one of the fellas we're looking for.
Huh?
Well, there's two of them, and he's out here all alone.
Oh.
Of course, they could have split up, but fellas on the run ain't apt to do that.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, we're sorry if we woke you.
Mm-hmm. I was getting up time anyway. Just who is it you boys are looking for?
Couple of outlaws held up the Cheyenne train last night about 4 miles east of Black Ledge.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, there was some shooting, too. One of the passengers.
We're out hunting the bandits. And my name's Kit Springer. This is my brother, Lex.
Oh, yeah.
Pleased to meet you.
You fellas all alone?
Oh, no. There's a posse. A little way back. Sheriff's leading them. But he thinks the robbers headed for Patch Canyon, so he's taking the posse there. We don't see it that way.
You don't, huh?
We figure them outlaws will try to get through Miller Pass. If they can make it, they'll be in the clear.
Well, that sounds reasonable.
You, ain't seen nobody tonight?
No, I can't say I have.
Reckon we figured wrong, then. They'd have to come by here on their way to the pass. This is the only trail, ain't it?
Yeah, that's right. But not seeing them doesn't guarantee they weren't around. The way I was sawing wood, they could have stumbled right over my bedroll without me knowing it.
Well, I guess even if our hunch was right, we couldn't find them now.
Why's that?
We don't know the route from here on. We ain't never been through the pass ourselves. Say, you ain't traveling in that direction by any chance?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I am. I'm riding over to the Jefferson Ranch on the south slope.
Well, that's great. Looks like we struck it lucky for once, Lex.
What do you mean, kid?
Well, maybe Ponsett wouldn't mind us riding along with him, seeing as how he knows the way. And if we did run into them bandits, it'd be 3 of us to take care of them.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I'd be mighty glad to have some company, but it seems to me like you're letting yourselves in for a pretty long trip, just on a hunch. It's over a day from here through the pass, and there's no certainty the fellows you're after have even taken this trail, you know.
Oh, I guess we can spare the time. Yeah. There's a $1,500 reward being offered.
$1,500? Oh, wow.
If the posse does catch him, the money will be split 40 ways to breakfast. We won't be losing out on much. But if we run into him ourselves, well, you see what I mean.
Sure.
That is, if you ain't got no objections.
No, like I said, I'd welcome a little company. I'll fix us some chow, and then...
we already had breakfast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, how about a cup of coffee, anyway?
Well, that's mighty kind of you, but maybe we ought to get started. In case them outlaws did get past you during the night, we wouldn't want them to pile up too much of a lead on us. We could stop for food later.
You boys sure are anxious.
$1,500 is a lot of money.
Well, that's true enough. Okay, I guess I can hold off a couple hours.
Get the horses, Link.
Yeah, sure.
Can I give you a hand with that bedroll?
No. I can manage.
Yes, sir. It was real lucky us bumping into you.
How's that?
I mean, you knowing this trail and all. Otherwise, we'd have had to turn back.
You fellas may be off on a wild goose chase, you know.
No, I just don't think so. Somehow I've got the doggonedest feeling we're headed right.
Well, as soon as I get Scars saddled up, we'll start finding out. Easy, boy. Easy now. It wasn't much of a trail. Just a little rocky path that hugged the side of the mountain and wound around tighter and tighter like the string on a top. It was hard riding, too. Every now and then we'd come to a horseshoe turn, and the horses had to cut so sharp they pulled their back legs in under their bellies and left us sort of hanging out over the ledge, looking down at an awful lot of air. Easy now. Boy, I got a hand of the Springer brothers. You know. They didn't complain. I'd taken this route before, so I knew what to expect. It was all new to them. After 3 or 4 of these loops, though, they did start dabbing their foreheads with their handkerchiefs, but neither one of them said anything about turning back. And to tell you the truth, I was doing a little sweating myself. That's a pretty steep trail, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, these horses are getting tired. Maybe we ought to rest a spell next wide space we come to.
They can keep going for a while yet.
Well, maybe they can. I'm getting tired myself.
He's right. We can't risk a stumble not up here.
Okay.
Ah, here. It looks like we're coming to a good spot up here.
Yeah.
Whoa, Scar.
Oh, there, boy.
Whoa. I'm afraid you boys are going to be disappointed.
Huh?
About that $1,500. There haven't been any fresh tracks along the trail. Leastwise, I haven't seen any.
I was so busy riding, I didn't have time to do much looking.
Well, if somebody was just ahead of us, you'd think we'd spot a sign of them here and there.
Maybe somehow we got ahead of them.
Well, in that case, there wouldn't be much point you fellas going on, would there?
Well, we've come this far. We might as well go the rest of the way.
All right, it's up to you.
Sure he is hot.
Yeah, I reckon I won't be wanting that coffee after all.
I'll tell you one thing. I'm getting rid of this jacket.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. That's that belt there. That mighty fancy belt you're wearing there, kid.
Huh?
I don't think I've ever seen a buckle like that before. Silver, isn't it?
Yeah, it's silver.
Yeah, it's real pretty. Too bad you got it all spotted up like that.
Spotted?
Yeah, that looks like a sort of blood you got on there.
Oh. Why, I cut my hand the other day. Must have been when it happened. I didn't realize I'd smeared up my belt, though. Doggone it. Probably have a heck of a time getting the leather clean again.
Yeah, blood stains are apt to be sort of permanent.
Yeah.
It's a shame. Nice new belt like that.
We'll return to James Stewart as the six-shooter in just a moment. Someday, science will find a cure for infantile paralysis, but it takes research. And this year, your March of Dimes is forcing a showdown with this terrible disease. It's testing a highly promising vaccine in the hope of proving this year that it can stop polio from crippling your child. Now, you can give these crucial tests, which are costing extra millions of dollars, an extra chance to succeed. Your help in paying the extra millions for polio prevention is urgently needed. Join the 1954 March of Dimes. Send your dimes and dollars to your local March of Dimes headquarters this week. Now, Act 2 of The Six-Shooter, starring James Stewart as Britt Ponsett.
soon as the horses were rested, we started off again. But the higher we got, the harder it was for the animals to keep moving. The air was thinner now. You noticed it every time you took in a gulp. And the trail seemed even fainter than before. Oh, a couple of times we missed it completely and just went off on a tangent. And then we had to swing around and try to pick up where we'd gone wrong.
You'll never catch up with them at this rate.
No, I wouldn't worry about it, Kit.
What do you mean?
I still haven't seen any fresh tracks. Looks to me like nobody's been through here since last rain.
If you'd keep your eyes on the trail instead of looking for horseshoe marks, we might not get lost so often.
Easy, Kid.
I told you boys you were letting yourselves in for something.
Yeah, you told us. Well, come on. Let's see if we can make up some time.
I sure couldn't help notice that the longer we rode, the less friendly Kit Springer got. I sort of put it down to the fact that he must have been sort of worn out. We weren't taking any pleasure, John, that was for sure. I couldn't blame him for being a little down at the mouth. But there was one thing that sort of troubled me about this fella. Something he said kept pecking at the back of my brain.
I cut my hand the other day. That must have been when it happened. I didn't realize I'd smeared my belt.
I shifted around and glanced back over my shoulder. Kit had one hand on the saddle horn and the other was gripping the reins. The cut must have been all healed up by now. Leastways, he didn't seem to have any trouble with it. And a cut deep enough to spot his belt that way, it must have taken several days to get well. Funny, he'd never noticed the blood on his belt before I mentioned it to him. Well, one thing was certain, Kit Springer sure couldn't be much of a dude. The sun finally went down, and we made camp for the night. We managed to find a pretty good-sized level spot right above the trail. Lex had built a fire, and I cooked up a mess of beans and some pan bread. Kit didn't seem to be very hungry, though.
Moon ought to be coming up pretty soon.
Oh, another hour or so.
Think it'll give off much light?
Oh, some, I guess.
Not enough to see by, huh?
To see what?
Well, you said we were almost through the pass, didn't you?
Oh, we've got a couple, 3 more miles.
Well, why do we have to stop here, then? The horses could feel their way.
Just simmer down, Kit. Just simmer down. It's plain enough we're not going to run into those fellows you're after. They're either out of the pass now, or what's more likely, they never took this trail in the first place. That posse's probably captured them hours ago. Some more coffee, Lex?
Yeah, thanks.
Kit?
No, I've had enough. There's a town on the other side of the pass, ain't there?
Yeah, English Creek. Just a little burg.
Spending the night there would be a whole lot better than sitting out here. We could get a bath and a shave, change of clothing.
You wouldn't want to risk your neck on the trail just for a bath, would you?
I guess not. But I ain't very comfortable wearing the same breeches and shirt day after day.
That's so. I didn't figure you for the particular type.
Well, you figured wrong, Mr. Ponset. Kit's a real fancy Dan.
Oh, that's so.
Yeah, you ought to see him on Saturday night when he starts off for town. Looks like a real riverboat gambler. That's what he looks like.
Well, there's nothing the matter with a man just because he tries to keep himself presentable, is there?
No, nothing at all.
Well, reckon we might as well turn in.
All right, you fellas go ahead. I'll bank the fire. You know, it's funny you never used this trail before.
What's so funny about it?
Well, seeing as how you live in Black Ledge.
We never said we lived there.
No, I guess you didn't. Come to think of it. But, well, since you were a part of Sheriff's posse, I sort of jumped at the conclusion.
We were just passing through on our way to Beaver Junction. We heard about the train robbery. It seemed like the sheriff needed all the help he could get, so we volunteered.
Not to mention the reward, of course.
Not to mention the reward.
Hey, by the way, who is the sheriff of Black Ledge now?
What difference does it make?
Well, I'm just curious, that's all.
Oh, I don't remember his name. Wasn't time for any formal introductions. Folks just call him Sheriff.
Oh, yeah, I see. Big fella, is he, with a mustache?
Look, Ponset, you were the one who was so all-fired determined on us stopping for some shut-eye. So how about settling down?
Sure.
Night.
Good night. I rolled up in my blanket and I turned my face toward the fire. And, as far as I could tell, the Springer boys hadn't been lying to me. A man could join up with a posse and not find out the sheriff's name. And I guess a man could ride himself half to death on the off chance of earning him $1,500 reward if he had a mind to do it. Of course, it hadn't worked out. Kit's hunch on the train robbers were using this pass. It just hadn't worked out. But I'd played plenty of wild hunches myself. So, about then, I dropped off to sleep. The last thing I remember is hearing my mind say, maybe you're wrong, Poinsett. Maybe those outlaws are using the pass after all. It just kept echoing through my head. Maybe you're wrong, Poinsett. Well, it must have been 6-7 hours later when At first, I wasn't sure what it was that woke me up. One of the horses, maybe. I started to drift off again.
Lex. Shh. What's the matter?
It's almost dawn. We gotta start moving.
What about Poinsett? Are you awake?
I don't think so.
Brett.
I don't know what it was that kept me from answering back. But I just laid there, hardly breathing, not moving, not even opening my eyes.
Guess he's still asleep.
Yeah. We ain't gonna need him the rest of the way, Lex.
That's what I figured.
Trouble is, he knows our names, what we look like. Sooner or later, he'd put 2 and 2 together.
You didn't have to tell him who he was.
I knew it wouldn't make no difference one way or the other.
You're gonna shoot him, kid?
Nope. You are.
Me?
Yeah. I'm already wanted for a couple of killings, Lex. But they're only after you for robbery. Even though you're my brother, if the going got too rough someday, you might want to ease out of the partnership.
You know better than that, kid.
I'll know it for sure. After you kill Poinsett. Well?
Okay, kid. Whatever you say.
I'll get the horses. Hurry it up.
I heard Kit move off across the clearing. For a minute, that's all I heard. Then Lex started moving, too. I lifted my eyelids just a hair, and I saw him through the lashes. He pulled his revolver out of the holster. My gun belt was lying right beside me, and I inched my left hand toward it real slow so he wouldn't notice. I felt my fingers slide across a couple of stones, but the gun was still a little space beyond. I hadn't touched it yet. Lex was standing right over me now. I wasn't going to have much more time. If I didn't get a grip on that gun the next second or two, I spun over as he fired. But the bullet had seared my shoulder and dug into my chest. My right hand jerked up and I let fire. At first I thought I'd missed him. I saw his fingers start to squeeze off another shot, but he never finished pulling the trigger. His whole body was shaking like an aspen tree, and he just tilted forward. I slid out of the way as he fell. I hadn't had time to feel the pain before now, but it started tearing through me so bad I almost let out a yell.
One shot ought to have been enough to... Lex!
Just hold it there, Kit.
Brett, what?
Seems you were right about the train bandits using this trail to... The words wouldn't come out. And everything started blurring in front of my eyes, and I could barely keep from dropping my gun. It was getting light now. Kit could see how bad I was shot. He whipped his revolver up from his side. The sound kind of jerked me back to my senses, and I managed to pull the trigger. I knew my aim wouldn't be so good, but it was good enough to send Kit diving back of a rock for cover. And there was a tree stump not more than a couple feet away, and I managed to roll myself behind it.
I know you're hurt, Poinsett. You can't hold out much longer.
I sure wasn't in any way to argue with him. If I could just get off a couple of more shots, maybe maybe he'd think twice before it, but I didn't have enough strength to. What's that? That couldn't be Kit fired. I pushed my chin up to the edge of the stump. What? Are there horses coming up the trail from the same direction we'd come? And for a minute I couldn't think who, and then I remembered. The posse. They'd been following us all the time. That's why Kit was so anxious to stay on the move. Well, that's the sheriff, Springer. I wouldn't plan on going much further. I could see him. I knew he was calling his horse. There was only one way back trail. He had to ride past me in the open. I propped myself up against the side of his stump, and I shifted my gun to my left hand, and for a minute I thought the trigger was stuck, and then I...
He's coming too, Sheriff.
Yeah, good.
How you feeling, Brad?
What? Doc? Well, Doc Easton, what the Sam hell are you doing out here?
Well, there's no law saying a doctor can't go along with a posse, is there?
No. Well, for my sake, it's a good thing you did. Well, what about Kit Springer? Did you catch up with him, Sheriff?
You saved us the trouble, Brett.
Why, I couldn't have done that. He must have got away. That last shot of mine, that was a mile wide.
Well, maybe you didn't exactly hit him, but you sure scared the daylights out of his horse.
What?
Yeah, we saw the whole thing from down below. Springer was just turning onto the trail when you fired. His horse reared and started slipping over the edge. Springer tried to jump clear, but he just couldn't seem to tear himself loose from that saddle.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing, Brett. When we finally found him, his body was still fastened to that saddle.
Yeah?
Yeah. The belt he was wearing had got caught onto the horn somehow. That must have been what drug him along when his horse fell.
I never heard of a man's belt hooking onto a saddle horn before.
Neither did I, but that's what happened, all right.
Yeah. Well, how about it, Brett? You going to be able to ride on into English Creek after I finish bandaging you up?
Yeah, I'll do my best, Doc. I'll sure do my best.
Six-Shooter is a transcribed NBC Radio Network production in association with Review Productions. It is based on a character created by Frank Burt and is written by him. Mr. Stewart may soon be seen in the Universal International picture The Glenn Miller Story. Others in the cast were Eleanor Audley, Forrest Lewis, Bill Conrad, Joel Cranston, and Frank Gerstle. Special music for this program was by Basil Adlam. And the entire production is under the direction of Jack Johnstone. All characters and incidents were fictitious, and any resemblance to actual characters or incidents is purely coincidental. This is Hal Gibney speaking. Spend 30 minutes with Sunday at Home next on the NBC Radio Network.
70 years ago, January 17th, 1954, Jimmy Stewart as the Six-Shooter. Up next, an episode of Hollywood Soundstage. And while it's not the same as the original production, it is delightful. The Oxbow Incident. That's next on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Spring is nearly here, and many of our listeners will be getting out their gardening tools, their overalls or shorts to again try their hands at raising their own vegetables. For most of us, gardening is an enjoyable hobby, and it certainly is a great thrill to see the results of your work come out of the ground right before your eyes. In other lands, many people will also be watching their spring planting grow. CARE, the Cooperative for American Remittances to Europe, proposes to help meet that need with their new vegetable seed package. It contains 28 varieties of vegetables. In order for families in Europe to start planting, you should order the Care Seed package right away. Total cost, with delivery guaranteed, is $4. Send your orders to Nonprofit Care, 50 Broad Street, New York, and help a family help themselves.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, one of the many adaptation series, Hollywood Soundstage. This episode goes back 72 years to January 17, 1952, an adaptation of the motion picture. I believe it was Spencer Tracy that starred in the original, The Oxbow Incident.
This is Charlie Ruggles.
This is Edward Arnold. And this is Hugh Douglas saying, welcome to Hollywood Soundstage. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, the doors of our Hollywood Soundstage swing open for 30 minutes of exciting drama. A most unusual story tonight. One of the greatest stories ever brought to the screen. The gripping and realistic study of what happens to men when they become a mob. Hollywood Soundstage is proud to bring you transcribed 20th Century Fox Studios' magnificent motion picture, The Oxbow Incident, based on the famous novel by Walter Van Tilburg Clark, and starring Edward Arnold, Charlie Ruggles, and the Screen Guild Players.
I don't suppose many people remember it now. It was back in 1885, you see. A small thing, not much. You might say just an incident. The town looked almost deserted that day. A few wooden shacks, a blazing sun, one dusty street and nothing moving. Just an old, tired mongrel dog. Until that cowhand came pounding down the road, pulled up his horse in front of Darby's saloon, and yelled,
"Hey, men! Where's everybody? Where are you, men?"
The boys came piling out of the bar. And pretty soon, the way they sounded, I could tell that something was wrong. So I left my place. I ran the general store, you see, and went right over to find out. Darby was the one who told me, standing behind the bar and polishing a glass.
Someone get Larry Kincaid last night. Found him laying in a dry wash this morning.
Dead?
Shot right through the head.
Yeah, but who? Kincaid didn't have any enemies. Who'd do a thing like that?
Been a lot of cattle stolen this year.
You mean rustlers?
Maybe. Jeff Farnley's taking it pretty hard. Him and Kincaid were buddies.
Yes, I know.
Them other boys are kind of hot, too. They find them rustlers, they might do something about it.
A lynching?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I'd seen things happen like that before. One minute, just a crowd of men, and the next minute, a mob. You know, it's a funny thing about mobs. No one wants to be first, and no one wants to be last. But just let someone start it off, and the madness spreads like a prairie fire. I knew they wouldn't listen to me, so I sent a lad running to get Judge Tyler. And pretty soon he was there up on the steps facing the crowd.
Believe me, men, I know how it is. My old friend Larry Kincaid, one of the finest and noblest gentlemen.
Cut the stuffing, Judge. We got a job to do. All we want is your blessing.
Now, finally, of course, you can't flinch from what you believe to be your duty, but this is something that should be left to the law.
By the time the law gets ready to act, them rustlers will be over the Rio.
One more word out of you, Monty Smith, and I'll have you up for impeding justice.
Judge, you can't impede but don't hardly move.
And you, Jenny Greer, a woman, to lend yourself to a thing like this.
Ha, ha.
That's telling him, Mom!
Yeah. Now listen, men. The sheriff is down at Kincaid's right now. Judge, is that true?
It sure is, Davies. He went down this morning.
Yeah, you see, men, everything's being attended to legally. Now you just have a long, hard ride for nothing. It'll be dark soon and mighty cold. Now my advice is to come on inside and have a drink and wait till we hear from the sheriff. What do you say?
Drinks on the house. 1 round on me.
And I'll up that, Darby. I'll make it 2.
And I'll make it 3 for everyone but Jenny Greer.
Yeah, we had 'em laughing, and I was sure we'd won. Only just then we heard another voice, level, hard, and cold as ice.
What's the matter, men? Disbanding?
Looks that way, Major Tetley. Brother Davies here just about convinced us.
Of what, Mr. Davies?
Why, it's useless to follow those men, Major. They could be over the Rio by now.
But they aren't. As it happens, they went east by Bridges Pass.
Through the mountains?
That's right, Fondly. By way of Oxbow.
Yeah, but that's 8,000 feet up. They'd be crazy to go that way.
Not so crazy, Mr. Davies, knowing how crazy it'll look to us.
How come you're so sure, Major?
One of my riders saw them. He hid in the woods and let them pass. He thought it strange they should be driving cattle up there.
Cattle? Any marks?
Yes, Fondly. They carried the B-Bar-H.
That's Kincaid's mark. The dirty rats. How many were there?
3 of them. Strangers. My rider said he'd never seen them before.
Yeah, but Major, why were you so long bringing us this word?
My son was out on the range. I knew he'd want to go along. Gerald, is that correct?
I'm here, Father. Isn't that all that counts?
It counts for me.
Finally, you stay off that horse. Now, I'm not asking you finally. I'm telling you.
Telling me what, Judge?
Now, look, Jeff, you don't have to worry. This business will be taken care of.
Yeah, and I know who's going to take care of it. Me.
Now, Jeff.
Whoever shot Larry Kincaid ain't coming in here for you to fuddle with your lawyer's tricks for 6 months. Kincaid didn't have 6 months to decide if he wanted to die. You ready, Tetley?
Major Tetley, you mustn't let this be a lynching.
Well, it's scarcely what I'd choose, Davies.
You now promise me you'll bring them in for a fair trial.
Look here, Tetley, you know what's legal. You can't have a posse without a sheriff.
All right, what about me?
What about you, Mapes?
I'm a deputy. The sheriff swore me in before he left this morning.
Well, in that case, Mr. Mapes, suppose you deputize the rest of us.
You can't. It's illegal. No deputy can deputize.
What do you think, Major? Well, that's good enough for me.
Me too, Butch. Go ahead, pray.
All right.
Butch Mapes, you're violating the law.
All right, men, raise your right hands. I hereby solemnly swear that I am sworn in as a deputy in the case of the murder of Larry Kincaid, and am willing to abide by the decisions of the majority. So help me God. Say I do.
I do.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, men, check your guns and horses.
Come on, boys.
We'll leave from here in exactly 10 minutes.
Necktie party. Ain't every day we get a hanging in a town as dead as this one. You coming, Sparks?
No, sir, Mr. Smith, I don't guess so.
Why not? We ought to have a reverend along. Gonna be some praying to do.
Yeah, now lay off him, Smith.
Excuse me, Mr. Davis, maybe he's right.
No, he's joking you, Sparks.
Yeah, I know, but maybe someone ought to go that feels the way I do.
Why, sure. Davies can loan you his Bible so's to keep the burial fit and proper.
Thank you, sir, but I knows the text without the book.
Yeah, you can take my horse from the shed, Sparks. Come along, we'll get him out.
Thank you, sir.
Sparks.
Yes, sir.
Can that kid of yourn ride?
Sure can, Mr. Davis, just like an Indian.
Then he's the only one who can go.
Where, sir? Where to?
Down to Kincaid's to get the sheriff.
Coming for the
Gerald, wouldn't your father want you to be riding up with him?
Sure, I suppose so. Major Tetley and son, riding out at the head of the pack.
You don't like this thing, do you?
How can you like it? Going out to hunt men like coyotes or rabbits? We're very brave, aren't we? 28 of us sticking together, trying to tell ourselves we're noble and right. Not one of us willing to cut and run because we're afraid somebody might think we're yellow.
Well, if you feel that way, why did you come?
Because I'm weak. My father's strong. And that's hell. Can you understand how that's hell?
Now, you didn't start this. It isn't your fault, son.
If we get those men and hang them, I'll kill myself. I won't go on living remembering I saw it and was part of it myself.
You could still go home.
No, I can't. And even if I could, it wouldn't matter. I don't count.
Gerald!
I'm coming, Father.
Say, Davies, I just heard that Tetley kid sounding off. What's feeding on him anyway?
Oh, lots of things, I guess. You know, he's not much like his father, Darby. He's soft. Besides, he's been sick a lot. Likes to stay by himself and read.
Don't sound right bright in the head to me.
Well, maybe not. But how would you feel if you knew your own father hated you?
Mr. Davies?
Oh, that you, Sparks?
Yes, sir. Mind if I sit with you a bit while we stop?
No, not at all, not at all. I was feeling sort of lonesome myself.
Mortal cold now, ain't it, sir?
Well, it'll be worse later.
Yes, sir. Mr. Davies, I sure wish we was out of this business.
So do the others, but they're afraid to admit it.
It's man taking on himself the Lord's vengeance.
You think the Lord knows what's happening up here tonight?
Yes, sir. He marks the sparrows' fall.
Time to move, men. Let's get going.
We gotta have faith, sir. We gotta wait for a sign.
I know, Sparks, but how long? How long?
It must be them up ahead. You can see their campfire.
Yeah, would they be showing a fire if they were on the run?
They would if they thought they weren't being followed, Davies. Now, men, let's not have any shooting or rough work until they've had a chance to tell their way.
The one that got Kincaid is mine. Don't forget that, Major.
I won't, Fondly. He's yours when we're sure. Gerald, you come with me. Mapes.
Yes.
You take 6 men and work around from the back. We'll close in simultaneously.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Davies, would you like a gun?
No, thanks.
Sparks.
No, sir, Major. Thank you just the same.
Well, as you choose. Let's go, boys. Good luck.
There were 3 of them, camping right along the oxbow. A young fella, an old man, and a Mexican. They were sound asleep when we rode in on them. But it didn't take them long to wake up.
Look, what is this? What's the matter?
Don't move, young man. Put up your hands.
The rest of you, too. You, Max.
No, sorry.
That's all right, brother. You will.
Gerald, collect their guns.
What are you trying to do? What do you want from us?
We don't want nothing. This ain't no stick-up, mister. This is a posse.
But we haven't done anything.
Well, that remains to be seen. Gerald.
What?
Why, you fool, don't get between him and my gun.
Look, what's all the mystery? Why don't you tell us what we're being held for?
Well, I'd rather you told us.
Told you what? What are you talking about?
Rustling. Ever hear of it?
Rustling?
Yeah, and murder?
Murder?
Ain't we had enough palaver? Let's get it done and go home.
That'll do, Fondly.
Who says so? Who picked you to be boss anyway? We got him. I say let's swing him before we all freeze to death.
Well, there's a fire over there. If you're cold, warm yourself. All right, men, bring the prisoners over to the fire.
All right, you
I'll
guys,
question them there.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, Sparks?
You think the sheriff's going to get here in time?
That's what I've been thinking about. Suppose he doesn't get here at all.
You have just heard the first act of 20th Century Fox Studios' great motion picture, The Oxbow Incident, starring Charlie Ruggles, Edward Arnold, and the Screen Guild Players. Act 2 will follow in just a moment, but meanwhile, here's something you ought to know. When the same emergency occurs 4 years in a row, we've got to accept it as average. For 4 years in a row, the yearly average for new infantile paralysis cases rose to 30,000, triple what it once was. Average cost for treating patients has gone up, too. Obviously, your National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis needs more money to answer every call for help this year. So give more dimes and dollars to your 1952 March of Dimes. Join today. And now, starring Edward Arnold as Major Tetley and Charlie Ruggles as Mr. Davies, with Eddie Firestone as Gerald, Anthony Barrett as Martin, and Chester Hairstone as Sparks, Hollywood Soundstage presents Act Two of The Oxbow Incident.
It was Major Tetley who questioned the prisoners, very formal and very quiet. Too formal, too quiet. There was something unhealthy about it, something horrible. Deep down inside, he was enjoying himself. He took the young fellow first, the one who seemed to be the boss.
What's your name, young man?
Donald Martin.
Where are you from?
Pike's Hole.
That's a lie.
Mr. Smith?
I get around Pike's Hole a lot. I never seen this fella before.
I just moved in 3 days ago, Dave Baker's place. Bought it in Los Angeles last month. I give him $4,000, sight unseen.
Then, brother, you've been robbed.
But my family's there right now, my wife and kids. Look, why don't you take me back and let me prove it? I'm entitled to a trial.
You're getting a trial. With 28 of the only kind of judges murderers and rustlers get in this country. Do you have any cattle up here with you? I won't ask you again.
Yeah, I got 50 head.
Where'd you get them?
I got them from Mr. Kincaid.
That's what we figured, son.
Look, I didn't steal them, honestly. I bought and paid cash for them.
You got a bill of sale?
Mr. Kincaid was out on the range. He said he'd mail the bill of sale to me.
Finally.
Yeah?
How long have you known Larry Kincaid?
Ever since we were kids.
Ever know him to sell any cattle without a bill of sale?
Never.
But he did, I tell you. He'll tell you himself. Why don't you go ask him?
Quit bluffing. You know that Larry Kincaid can't tell us anything.
Why not?
He's dead.
Well, that wasn't enough for Tetley. He had to have his fun with the other two, the old man and the Mexican. But the old man just kept blubbering.
I didn't do nothing. I don't want to die. I don't want to die in the dark.
And the Mexican kept insisting stubbornly.
No sabe, senores. Me no sabe.
And still young Martin, stuck by his guns, refused to change his story one bit.
I tell you, Kincaid was alive yesterday afternoon. He sold me those cattle to stock my place. Don't you believe me? Why do you have to blame it on me? Who gave you the right? Who sent you up here?
The sheriff.
Now, that's not true, Major Tetley. The sheriff didn't even know we were coming.
No, but I did.
That's right, Mapes. Mr. Davies, perhaps I should have said the deputy sheriff. That makes it quite legal, I believe.
Now, listen, men. I'm not trying to obstruct justice, but this lad is only asking what he's entitled to, a fair trial. Now, Martin, you say you're innocent, and I, for one, believe you.
Makes you the only one, Davies.
All right, men, tie them up.
No, you don't mean you're gonna... But you can't. I've got kids. One of them's just a baby. Look, just give us some time. That's all I want, a little time.
You've had too much already.
Well, then I've got to write a letter. If you're human, you'll give me time for that.
Now, Major Tetley, that's not too much to ask, huh?
I believe you may have a point there, Mr. Davies. Mapes, what time is it?
5 after 3.
Gentlemen, we don't want to give anyone cause for complaint. With your permission, we wait till daylight. That'll give Reverend Sparks the time to settle his business at leisure.
He gave the letter to me, Major Tetley, and asked me to take it to his wife. If you'd only read it, it's such a fine letter.
I'm not disputing that, Mr. Davies. But if it's an honest letter, it's none of my business to read it. And if it isn't, I have no interest in it.
Won't any of you read it? Any of you? Well, why not? Why not? Is it because you don't want to know the truth? It's a beautiful letter. If you just read it, you'll know he's not the kind of a man who could steal or kill.
That kind of argument don't stand up against branded cattle and no bill of sale.
Well, I was just hoping.
Gentlemen, it's daybreak.
Major Tetley, I'm warning you. If we hang these men and they're innocent, we're due to be hanged ourselves.
Well, then I suggest we act as a unit. There can be no question of mistaken reprisals. Mr. Davies, are you willing to abide by a majority decision? How about the rest of you? Very well. All right. All who agree with Mr. Davies for putting this off and turning it over to the courts, step over here. Mr. Davies, 1.
And me, sir?
Sparks, That's 2.
Yeah, me too, I guess.
Mr. Darby?
Count me. I'm with Mr. Davis.
Gerald? Anyone else? 4 of you, huh? Well, Mr. Davies, that's hardly a majority.
Come on, what are we waiting for?
Finally, we'll do this in a legal manner. Tie their hands behind them.
All right.
Put them up on their horses.
Get them up there.
That second limb on the oak there, that'll hold them. Smith, you get up there and tie the ropes.
Sure will.
Finally, you'll whip one horse out. Mapes will whip the second.
All right.
And Gerald, you'll whip the third.
I could see it now. The terrible, quiet cruelty of the man forcing his son, a boy like Gerald, to be an executioner. But it was fate, I thought, that Gerald should fail him this once again. At the very last moment, the boy turned away, sobbing and choking, until Tetley stepped forward and struck him down with his gun and whipped the third horse out himself. Then, as those 3 figures kicked convulsively in the air, he turned to Farnley very quietly.
Finish them, Farnley.
Right.
Well, that's done with. Now we can go.
Hey. What's going on?
Hey, it's the sheriff.
Yeah.
What's up? What's all the shooting for?
Yeah, there they are, Sheriff. We got them all right.
Got who, Mapes? What are you talking about?
Kincaid's murderers. We got all 3 of them.
And hung them, too.
Yeah.
Well, you must be loco. Larry Kincaid ain't dead.
Not dead?
Well, but we thought...
I just left Kincaid with the doctor, and I got the fellow that shot him, too.
Well, but Sheriff, them fellas, they had Larry's cattle and no bill of sale.
Give me your badge, Mapes.
But, sure.
Mr. Davies, I know you well enough to know you didn't have anything to do with this. I'm depending on you to tell me who did.
All but 4.
Well, God better have mercy on the rest of them, because they ain't going to get any from me. I'll meet you at Judge Tyler's in the morning. Gentlemen, under the circumstances, I think we'd better return to our homes. I'm going into my study, Gerald, and I wish to be alone.
I want to talk to you first.
I have no desire to discuss anything with you.
No, because you've got an idea what I want to say. You loved it, didn't you? I saw your face. The face of a depraved and murderous beast. You knew in your heart those men were innocent, but you were cold crazy to see them hang, to make me see it, too. Yeah, go ahead. Go into your study. Go and hide behind your door, Major Tetley. That won't do you any good. Because I know the truth about you now. I'm not the coward in this family. You are. You're the coward. You're the one... Go ahead. Put a bullet in yourself. That doesn't change anything. You're the coward. You.
What's the matter? Don't nobody want to buy a drink? I ain't running the saloon for my health, you know.
I don't feel like a drink right now.
Funny thing. Me either.
Would some of you boys like me to tell you why?
Oh, lay off, Davies.
Because I asked you to read a letter and you wouldn't. You wouldn't even listen to it. But you're going to listen. You're going to listen to it now. I'm going to read it to you. It says, "My dear wife, Mr. Davies will tell you what is happening here tonight. He's done everything he can for me. I suppose there are some other good men here, too, only they don't seem to realize what they're doing. They're the ones I feel sorry for. They'll have to go on remembering this all their lives. A man just naturally can't take the law into his own hands and hang people without hurting everybody in the world. Because then he's not just breaking one law, but all laws. Law is a lot more than words you put on a book, or judges, or lawyers, or sheriffs you hire to carry it out. It's sort of like the conscience of the whole world. And when you hit at that, you hit at everybody. Everywhere. Well, there's more, but it's kind of personal. I don't think he'd want me to read it. Besides, I think you've heard enough.
Yeah, I gotta be going anyhow.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, they've gone now. The town looks almost deserted again. A blazing sun, one dusty street and nothing moving. Just an old, tired, mongrel dog. It won't be remembered very long. A small thing, not much. You might say, just an incident.
Oh, swing low, speed chariot, coming for to carry me home.
You have just heard the Hollywood soundstage production of 20th Century Fox Studios' great dramatic hit, The Oxbow Incident, starring Charlie Ruggles as Mr. Davies and Edward Arnold as Major Tetley. And now, back on stage for a final word. Here are the stars of our play tonight, Edward Arnold and Charlie Ruggles.
Well, thank you very much. I shouldn't have to tell you how happy we were to do this show tonight. I'm sure you all know that this radio program helps support the Motion Picture Relief Fund. And every actor in Hollywood is proud to share in a great work like that. Right, Eddie?
Absolutely, Charlie. And not only actors, producers, writers, directors, everyone in our industry is combining to make this half hour one of the really great spots of the radio week.
And, folks, you'll realize just how great when Hugh Douglas tells you about next week's show. In about 10 seconds from now.
That gives us just 10 seconds to wrap it up, Charlie. Good night, everybody, and many thanks.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.
Thanks again.
Next week, Hollywood Soundstage brings you the dramatic treat of the radio season. Two magnificent performers in a magnificent story. Richard Widmark and Eleanor Parker in a radio adaptation of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's unforgettable motion picture, The Postman Always Rings Twice. Next Thursday night at the same time, Eleanor Parker and Richard Widmark in The Postman Always Rings Twice. Don't miss it. The Oxbow Incident was presented tonight through the courtesy of 20th Century Fox Studios, whose current release is Decision Before Dawn, starring Richard Basehart and Gary Merrill. Edward Arnold will soon be seen in the 20th Century Fox picture, Bells on Their Toes. Also heard in tonight's play were Bill Boucher, Frank Nelson, Ken Christie, Virginia Gregg, Norman Field, Herb Vigran, and Will Wright. Hollywood Soundstage was transcribed in the film capital. Our play was adapted and directed by Harry Cronman. To be sure your giving gets there, when you send food or textiles overseas, use CARE. CARE is the non-profit worldwide organization for person-to-person relief. In 6 years, CARE has delivered 11 million packages overseas. CARE charges only the cost of wholesale buying and bulk shipping. And CARE guarantees delivery. Write for a catalog to your local office of CARE. CARE. This is Hugh Douglas. And remember, you meet sparkling comedy when you meet Millie, Sunday evenings on the CBS Radio Network.
There you have it, Hollywood soundstage from 72 years ago, January 17th, 1952. Charlie Ruggles, Edward Arnold, the real stars of the thing. Alrighty, tomorrow again, Suspense, Jack Benny and the Face is Familiar, Dragnet and the Big Sting, an episode of Sherlock Holmes and the Case of the Lucky Shilling, Hallmark Playhouse production of Old Soldiers Never Die, and The Adventures of Jungle Jim. But right now, we're going to head to Wistful Vista and see what's going on in the household of Fibber McGee and Molly.
What are your dreams for 10 years from now? Perhaps you'd like to travel abroad. In 10 years, comfortable tourist accommodations will certainly be available. This also applies if your travel plans are along the lines of See America First. If you're wondering how you can be sure of having the money at that time, buy savings bonds. Perhaps you haven't been considering travel. Well, if you've been counting on future leisure time or a college education for your children, a farm or business of your own, a retirement income or a home of your own, the solution is still the same. Buy savings bonds. Purchase them the easy, automatic way, where you work through the payroll savings plan, where you bank through the bond-a-month plan. Savings bonds are profitable. For every $3 invested today, you'll receive $4 when your bonds mature. So buy United States savings bonds through the payroll savings plan or bond-a-month plan. And remember, automatic saving is sure saving.
And now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we go back 69 years to January 17th, 1955, for an episode of Fibber McGee and Molly.
It's time for Fibber McGee and Molly. Sundays through Thursdays, NBC brings you Fibber McGee and Molly transcribed. The show is written by Phil Leslie and Len Levinson and directed by Max Hutto. Let's see what's troubling the McGees tonight before we get into our story.
McGee, what on earth were you crawling around our car for?
I was only looking it over, giving it a little checkup. Everybody ought to do that once in a while.
On their hands and knees?
Either that or you lift your car up with one hand and check it with the other.
Oh, McGee, you're just trying to be funny. But speaking of getting things checked, let's get our Prudential agent over here to check over our insurance policies.
That's right. They're giving a lot of extra service during this annual Policyholders Month. I wonder just what can change in a policy during the year.
Well, nothing changes in the policy, McGee. We change. Lots of things happen in a year, just like Social Security benefits were revised recently.
That's right.
So, Prudential agents want to help you make sure your insurance is just the way you want it.
And that's right, folks. To make sure your insurance is geared to serve you the way you want it to in 1955, get together with your Prudential agent this month. Let him give you a free life insurance checkup.
Fibber is right, friends. Why don't you call your Prudential agent tomorrow? This is the 6th day of the McGee Gamble Dieting Contest to see who can lose the most weight. And if you were able to eavesdrop on the contestants, you'd hear reactions like this from Mr. McGee.
One place I know I'm lighter, and that's in the head, from lack of food. Living on skimmed water, dehydrated parsley sprigs, and pureed rutabagas has got me dizzy.
From Mrs. McGee.
I cook and I cook and I cook these strange, non-fattening dishes, and then I eat and I eat and I eat, and my stomach keeps telling me nothing.
And from Dr. Gamble.
The longer the belt line, the shorter the lifeline. You have simply got to control the apostat in the hypothalamus near the pituitary gland, or you will wind up a tragedy in tallow. I keep telling myself, oh, am I hungry?
Well, at least they haven't much longer to go. In fact, Mrs. McGee is saying to Mr. McGee right now.
Cheer up, dearie, cheer up. Another 24 hours of this and you can eat anything you want, if you can afford it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind being on this diet, Molly, if I didn't get so dad-ratted hungry.
Well, the worst part of it to me is the agreement we made not to weigh ourselves till the contest is over. I don't know whether I'm losing weight or how much or if I'm even.
I've lost plenty of weight this week myself. I can tell. Although I don't know if it's worth the battle, the way I suffer. If it wasn't for that $10 of yours and the 10 of Doc's that I'm going to pick up when we weigh in tomorrow, and I'm the guy with the most lost weight, I'd quit.
So would we all, I expect. Listen, don't be too sure you're going to win, my boy. I may just win that myself. Also, Dr. Gamble thinks he's going to be the winner.
Doc hasn't lost an ounce.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell about him.
Yeah, you're right at that. A guy that big could drop 40 pounds, and you wouldn't know it till he got on the scale.
That's what I mean.
Doggone it, if there was just some way I could stuff Doc full of mashed potatoes at dinner tonight while I sat here and didn't get hungry.
Oh, that'll be the day. The day you're not hungry for dinner. Diet or no diet, that'll be the day.
Grocery boy!
You want to check the groceries? I've got to go upstairs and sort the laundry.
Okay, kiddo. Just wish there was some way I could keep from getting so dad-ratted hungry.
Hello there, Johnny. I put your groceries on the sink.
Oh, thanks, old-timer.
Don't take long to deliver the stuff you kids eat these days, since you all went on that diet, Johnny. How you making out?
Frankly, I'm starving. I could eat the tread off a Sherman tank right now.
No, I know what you mean, son. My girlfriend, Bessie, she went on a diet right after Christmas. Still on it. She takes pills, though.
Pills? What kind of pills?
Oh, to cut down her appetite.
Yeah?
Whenever she gets hungry, instead of a few steaks drowned with onions or a Boston cream pie, Bessie just takes them pills.
Hey, my gosh, does it work? I never thought of that. Does it keep her from getting hungry? Does it work?
Works fine, Johnny. Only trouble is, Bessie's got so fond of them pills, she eats them like popcorn. She skips lunch and eats 3 pounds of pills and just about breaks even.
Well, what kind of pills are they? Well, what's the name of them? You know, where can I get some?
Sure, I got a box of them out in the truck, Johnny. Bessie asked me to get them for her at Kramer's drugstore.
Boy, oh boy, what a break. Let me have a handful, will you? Come on. I'll go out with you and get them. If I can kill this appetite of mine and skip dinner tonight while Doc and Molly eat, I'll win that bet tomorrow, hands down. Ah, boy, what a break this is, getting these pills from the old-timer. I feel unhungrier already, I think. I should, anyway. That's 4 pills I've took so far. Boy, when I sit down to dinner tonight and casually say, "You eat my share, Doctor, I'm not hungry." Oh, boy, his mouth will fall open like a busted suitcase. Molly, I'll say...
Yes, dearie.
Uh-huh.
Did you call me?
Oh, no. I was just thinking I probably won't eat any dinner tonight. Probably won't be hungry.
Are you feverish? Let me feel your forehead.
No, I feel fine. I just merely got control of my appetite, that's all. Or I will have by dinner time, I think.
Well, I'm sorry you've decided not to be hungry. We're going to do a little better for dinner tonight than we've been doing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What you having? Boiled eggs with your spinach?
No. The diet allows each of us a slice of ham, broiled and basted with pineapple juice, some vegetables, and a frozen custard tonight.
Ham? Mm-hmm. Custard? Oh, this is going to be tougher than I thought. I better go upstairs and take a couple more, drink another glass of water.
Back to Wistful Vista in a minute.
How much difference can a shampoo make in the appearance of your hair? You'll find out after your first sudsing with Dial shampoo. Because this new shampoo gives your hair that diamond sparkle look, a bright, shiny look you'll love. And with Dial shampoo, you get loads of creamy, rich, lanolated lather, too. It leaves every strand of your hair ever so soft, ever so easy to manage, even right after shampooing. Once you try new Dial shampoo, you'll know how true this little song is.
Sparkle, sparkle, your hair too sparkles after Dial shampoo. Dial shampoo gets your hair clean. Dial shampoo gives your hair sheen. Diamond sparkle, that's for you when you use Dial shampoo.
Look for Dial shampoo in the unbreakable squeeze bottle at your favorite store.
I wish I'd asked the old-timer for the directions on these pills instead of just grabbing a handful. They don't seem to kill my appetite quite as dead as I thought they would. I'm still twitching a little bit. Maybe I ought to take a couple more, just in case I don't get as unhungry as I want to get before...
Oh, McGee, has Dr. Gamble come in yet?
Oh, not yet, kiddo. He ought to be here any minute, though.
Well, dinner's almost ready. Come out and put the coffee on for me, will you?
Okay. I don't need any more of them pills. Stands to reason I can't possibly be hungry now. Already took 8 of them.
The coffee pot's there on the sink.
Oh, okay. You didn't need to set 3 places at the dinner table, though, Molly, because nobody will be eating but you and Doc on account of... Oh, That's the ham cooking, huh?
Yeah, and it's driving me wild. Doesn't it smell wonderful?
Oh, I guess so, if you're hungry. Personally, I don't happen to be hungry.
Well, that's just up to you. Although how you can resist that ham.
Hey, Molly, the starving physician's home and starving.
Oh, hi, Doc.
Come on out to the kitchen, Doctor. Dinner's ready to put on just as soon as you wash up.
I washed at the office and wore my rubber gloves home so I wouldn't lose any time, Molly. All I have to do is peel them off and sit down.
Well, here you can both help me carry the food in. McGee, now you take the salad. Doctor, you carry in the turnips.
Right. I'll just set the salad down in there. I'm not hungry tonight, Doc. I'm going to let you have my dinner.
Your what?
That's what he says, Doctor. Keeps sniffing the ham, claiming he hasn't any appetite, and mopping his chin.
It's just using a little willpower, Doc. You eat my ham, boy. You need it.
No, thank you, my clumsy little saboteur. I'm starving, but I'll stick to the diet. I'm allowed one slice of broiled ham, and if you think I'm going to eat yours too and maybe lose this contest, I wish you were right, but you're not.
I think that's what he had in mind, Doctor,
Sure.
really. Here, have some salad.
Grocery boy! Social call this time.
Now, what the heck does he want? In the dining room, old-timer.
Well, hello there, kids. Hi, Doctor.
Hello, Mr. Oldtimer.
Well, having dinner, huh? Didn't mean to drop in right at dinner time, daughter.
Oh, that's all right.
Don't want to horn in while you're eating. I'll just sit down here and watch.
Well, you might as well sit at the table.
Thank you, daughter. I'll take this plate here as long as you insist.
Well, who insisted?
Yeah, take McGee's place there. He's not eating. He's not hungry, he said.
Well, I don't mind if I do have a slice of that ham, daughter. Not too much salad, Doctor. I want to save room for dessert. And, where are you going, Johnny?
I'm going in the living room. I'll look at the paper. Not hungry.
Sorry you won't eat, dearie. Pass the ham, Doctor.
There you are.
You sitting there watching them make pigs of themselves. Funny thing, if I didn't know personally that I took 8 of them appetite killer pills, and therefore I can't have any appetite left, I'd swear I'm hungrier than I was before. That's impossible, though, because after all...
Daughter, that was mighty fine eating. Best ham I ever ate.
Yes, sir. For a diet dinner, that was great, Molly.
I enjoyed it.
Say, speaking of diets, funny thing happened today. My girlfriend, Bessie, she's on a diet, too.
Oh?
She takes some pills to kill her appetite, you see.
Some of those are pretty effective.
Well, sir, I picked up a box of pills for her today and took them to her, and it turned out I got the wrong kind.
What was that, old-timer? What'd you say? You did what?
I thought you were wrapped up in your paper, dearie.
The pills. What about the pills, old-timer? What'd you say?
Says I got Bessie the wrong kind. Supposed to be appetite killers, but the kind I brung her was appetite sharpeners.
What?
She took 2 of them pills, got a kind of a wild look in her eye, and started chewing the leather off the easy chair.
No.
Fortunately, I had a rump roast out in the truck, so I flung that to her and run for my life, and while she was... That's it, daughter. That's the way she looked. Same wild look Johnny's got there.
What? McGee?
Quick, daughter. Throw him a rump roast, and I'll hide the leather chair, because he took them pills, too, and no telling what he'll want to eat.
Fibber and Molly will be right back. Say, do you know that you can own a superb Crosley Super V television set with a big 21-inch screen for as little as $1.99 a week? That's right. For as little as $1.99 a week, you can own the Crosley Super V 21-inch table model that now sells for only $149.95. Yes, you can own and enjoy this big screen Super V, backed by Crosley's 34 years of leadership in electronics, plus all the fabulous features that make Crosley famous. Features like Crosley's cinema wide screen for the biggest 21-inch picture ever, Crosley's aluminized picture tube for the brightest picture in television, and Crosley's handsome, rich-looking cabinets. See the sensational Crosley Super V table model with a big 21-inch screen for only $149.95, walnut finished, as little as only $1.99 a week at your Crosley dealers tomorrow.
It was your own fault for trying to pull a fast one on Dr. Gamble, and I have no patience with you.
Yeah, but gee whiz, Molly, there wasn't any rule against taking pills to kill our appetite.
I know, but you shouldn't have...
Old-timer. That rat. Sat there and ate my slice of ham. My beautiful slice of ham. I'm starving.
Come on out to the kitchen. I've got an extra slice put away. I think you've been punished enough.
Yeah, The listeners, too. Good night.
Good night, all.
Fibber McGee and Molly is an NBC Radio Network production transcribed, with Bill Thompson as the old-timer and Arthur Q. Bryan as Dr. Gamble. Well, tomorrow we'll see the end of the great diet contest. Who will lose the most poundage and be the winner? Dr. Gamble, who has the most to lose? Molly, who has the best control? Or McGee, who has everything and should get rid of some of it? This is John Wald saying be sure to put your radio set on a diet of Fibber McGee and Molly tomorrow night at this same time.
Oh, you gotta love it. And someone who's always fought with weight issues, I dig it. I dig it. 69 years ago, January 17th, 1955, Fibber McGee and Molly. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Thanks to Eric for buying us a copy over at classicradio.stream. Look at you some books and CDs and movies over there as well. We've also got a lot of good collecting information, and so you can learn more about building a classic radio collection of your own. Have a great Wednesday. We'll see you for our Thursday edition right here.